So even when this was written in 1879, they were already dubbing it a haunted house. Welcome to Mike's Morning Mug. We're out here. This is Oakwood Cemetery, not far from where Shana lives. And we thought we'd come out here and share a little history with you and what we have discovered. Now, one of the things that we love doing is really a necessity with researching the paranormal is historic research. And Shana, you found this book kind of researching locally. And this is, what exactly is it?
History of Greene County, Illinois, 1879.
1879. So we're really diving back in there. And where's your morning tea?
It's in our car.
Shana left the tea in the car. I have my morning coffee. She has her morning tea. So, yeah, so doing some research here. Well, we were really researching something else. We were looking for some stories about one of the hanging trees in the area, because there have been a couple. And we came across, and this is something I really love about diving into some of the old history books, is we came across a story about a quote-unquote haunted house in Carrollton, Illinois. So it's the Lee Baker Hodges house, and you want to talk a little bit about exactly what that is?
The Lee Baker Hodges house is actually now where the Greene County Historical Society business is located. It's also one of the first and oldest buildings in Carrollton. So,
but they have rumors of ghosts and supernatural and paranormal activity going on there.
Yeah, I know several local teams that have investigated the house and, have had a lot of experiences in there. That's a lot of activity. So, it's always been on the to-do list as far as investigating, but just haven't made it there yet. But now,
our interest is certainly piqued. Now, if you look up the house and try to just go through the articles and find out what type of paranormal activity exists there, they talk about the apparition of a child, some lights that come on, some noises that are made, things like that. Just real quick snippets of the type of paranormal activity that happens there. But if you go back into the old history books, you find out a little bit more, actually not even a little bit more, a lot more about what's going on there, like the apparition of a child. It doesn't really tell you much, but this particular book actually has a story called The Haunted House, which is really kind of interesting. So even when this was written in 1879, they were already dubbing it a haunted house. The house was built in the 1830s. And just, for example, the apparition of a child. Well, actually what happened here was, it says Mrs. Clorinda Raton, the daughter of Thomas Raton, was one of the watchers for the night at the death of the general's child. The corpse was laid in the bedroom. During the night, the watchers heard a noise. Fearing a cat, they hastened to the corpse and were astonished to see the apparition of a child flit across the room and apparently escape through a pane of glass. Standing in the door of the bedroom, the supernatural rumblings could be heard, first in the distance, but always settling down and terminating in the northeast corner of the bedroom. So a lot more going on than just the apparition of a child. You actually find out who this child is, which makes it a lot more personable. And so, that's the sort of things that when we're researching into, you got to excuse the noise behind us because there is a highway back here. When we're researching the paranormal and researching the history of these people, that we bring these people to life and we become a voice for them. Because it's more than just the things that go bump in the night, than just a noise here. They talk about, a light that comes on. It's more than that.
Yeah. If you don't look and if you don't continue researching, you don't always look. It's like when you're researching something online. You don't just click one site and be done with it. You want to look at several. One site, may copy and paste from somewhere else, but somewhere in there is going to be something that the others don't have. And then that may have a link that leads you somewhere else, or that leads you to a person that might know something else, or something like that.
So, you want to know where Shana got this? the local library.
Yeah.
Use your library. Yeah, you know, light that comes on in the night. Well, we'll talk about this real quick. Dr. Cowden was a horse trader. He was a brave man. He feared neither ghost nor man, that which passed into the swine which ran down the mountain. While he occupied the house, his wife one night awakened him, and she could not sleep for the noise because they were always getting these phantom noises going on. He cried out, "Let the damn thing thump." Instantly, a light as bright as the noonday sun shone out over them and illuminated a square of the ceiling as large as the bed. The room beyond was black as night. He never cursed it again. So, a lot more to the story than just, you know, a light that popped on. And what was also kind of cool about this is they actually had paranormal investigators back then too. I know you got a kick out of that.
Yeah.
So they have a little story in here about how there were 3 guys that basically, you know, were gonna find out what was going on in the house, and basically stormed in there and like, all right, show yourselves. You know, kind of like the modern day television shows.
What does that sound like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they nailed all the boards. There's no effect on the noises. You know, watched for the cause for years to come. Yeah, but they never figured out exactly what it was coming from. But
early debunkers.
Early debunkers.
They're trying to eliminate what it might be to see if it still happens.
Yeah.
Which, you know, I believe in the paranormal, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to try to disprove it first. You know, not everything is paranormal as much as I want it to be. Just not everything is. And anybody who thinks so is a fool. So, I mean, you have to debunk stuff. You have to try. And if you can't, then after exhausting all other options, you're like, hey, this might be paranormal. Now I need to find out who it is.
Yeah. So they were talking about, you know, back then in their early debunking that they were cutting away the branches from the house because they were thinking that, you know, maybe branches from the trees are banging on the house causing the noises, nailing down floorboards more securely, and it didn't do any good. So, you know, it's stories like these that, you know, do your research, get into these old books. You know, I've talked about for years the story of Ariana Calvert from Montpelier Mansion and how, you know, I first encountered her story just as a one-line snippet on a website that said, you know, a girl who was forlorn over losing the love of her life. And from that, I was really curious about, okay, who is this girl? She haunts there. She's seen there, depressed, sad, all that. And over time, while I was researching for the book Ghosts of Maryland, and I was in an old book from the early 1900s called Colonial Houses of Maryland and Delaware, where I found her story. And it actually it is a very sad tale, but it's all, you know, it's all described right there in this book. She was just lost to time. And so now here, you know, because Shana went to the library, yeah, that's really all it was, going to the library, taking out an old book.
Every week.
Every week. That, you know, the real full story of what's happened there at the Lee Baker Hodges house can come to life. And we'll do a lot more with this location. We just wanted to pop on here for a morning mug and share a little bit about, you know, what we've been doing and the research and all of that. And just kind of really reiterate to everybody that the importance of research in utilizing all your resources. And while, you know, a book like this may seem large and cumbersome, it's really a fantastic piece of history. You know, we're going through there finding out bits of information about old schools that had burned down, you know, that it seemed like they were beautifully constructed. Yeah. You know, and we did find out more about the hanging, which we'll have to follow up on some more too. I think that'll about do it. Any final thoughts?
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Yeah, a lot more to come here on Haunted Road Media. So if you haven't yet, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Click on that little bell for the notifications too, so that you're notified when we have things coming up. Because there's a lot more going on, a lot more 360 videos, many more investigations coming up right to here on Haunted Road Media. Till next time.